Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today, I have a very informative upload to share with you. One I'm really looking forward to sharing with you guys because I did a lot of work. I do a lot of work on putting these uploads together, but this one I'm especially happy with because of the amount of work that was put into it. We're talking, to be quite honest with you, at least a couple of years of work and research and other things to make this one upload. Before we get into it, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost a cent. Click the like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click the bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because these things, they really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's upload, shall we? All right, so really quick, I just want to kind of address two things. Yesterday's video, there were two comments in yesterday's video, and one was some random guy who I checked, and he wasn't subscribed to the channel, and it seemed like every comment he's ever left in the comment section of the videos is just negative. But he's like, 10 minutes of begging for money, get to the 10-minute story already. Now, I've always done an intro. It's just something that, I don't know, it felt natural to do, and I'm not begging. It's just saying, hey, if you want to support the channel, help out or don't. I got 3 books that I narrated. If you want to buy one, buy one. If you don't. It just irked me. The second thing, not only I didn't see it until Ray, the gentleman who shared the experience with us out of West Virginia, he emailed me. And I have a burner phone. It's a phone that is not connected to the internet. I just put airtime on it, and then I turn it on and off when I'm going to do an interview. I have a Faraday bag that I throw it into, and I throw it in my gun safe. It's just something that I've done. I've gotten a couple different strange emails, and the people that have been with this channel for long enough know exactly what emails I'm talking about, and they are in the community page, actually, of the channel. Put it this way, a civilian can't create a .gov email address, and I received 2 threatening emails from .gov email addresses. But this person had stated, and I guess they live or had lived in a surrounding county of Wyoming County, and they said, I'm from this county, and I'm not addressing this person because I'm not calling them out. I'm actually supporting Ray. So what they stated was, I've lived in this county my entire life. I've lived in West Virginia my entire life. Cabin Creek is not in Wyoming County. I'm only using that voice because I don't know why. And it's not to belittle that person, because maybe it is. But Ray emails me and he says, please call me. And I call him. And he is worked up. Jeff, you have to address this comment. I have nothing to gain from sharing this experience with you and your viewers. I could possibly get in trouble for the information that I shared. Cabin Creek is in Wyoming County. Pull up a map right now of West Virginia. I will show you the general vicinity of where this occurred. I will not show you the exact area of where that trapdoor is, but I will show you in the vicinity of where we were. And I said, I gladly will correct and stand by you on this. Show me what you're talking about, and I'll address it tomorrow. And he said, thank you. So the two teenage boys were from Mullins, which is a little kind of village city in Wyoming County, West Virginia. Now, he told us that where this occurred was, he said it was exactly a mile west of Red Trail Lookout. And if you listen back to that upload, you will hear me state that their last known location and air quotes campsite was a mile west of Red Trail Lookout, which was located near Cabin Creek. Red Trail Lookout, Cabin Creek, Cabin Creek. So somewhere over in here is where that occurred. Somewhere over in this area. So you got Red Trail Lookout, Cabin Creek, somewhere in this area. So, Ray, I apologize for you getting upset the way you did. I did tell you that I would show people that, he really was worked up because he was like, I don't have anything to gain. I don't want your subscribers to hear my account and think in any such a way that I'm lying. Please show this. And, and that's what I mean in the comment section, I say it right at the end of the video. We are all treated with the respect that we deserve. People sharing these experiences, they are sharing them because they can't share them anywhere else. And because you are from West Virginia, but never heard of Red Trail Lookout, that's in Wyoming County, and Cabin Creek is right there. Because I was like, oh, maybe on this side it isn't. But if you look right here, what's that say? Let's look at the bottom here. Let me see. When I click right here, I don't know if it'll pop up, Wyoming County. And then click right here, Wyoming County. So yes, there is a tributary that runs through Wyoming County called Cabin Creek. All right, let's get into the rest of the upload. All right, so today's upload. And I'm sorry, Ray really, when I called him, I honestly, the way I read his email and when I initially heard his voice on that call, I honestly, my first thought was this guy got threatened. This guy, something bad happened to him the day that I uploaded his experience. And, you know, it's hard enough for people to share their experiences, for them to then be called out. But then when you call that person out not to even know what you're talking about, like, it's hateful and hurtful to people, you know? You can't go to a psychologist or psychiatrist and be like, I had one of the, you know, this is what I saw, because they'll put you in a padded room. You come to a place like this, or, you know, How to Hunt, Lon Strickler, Phantom and Monsters, wherever, and you share Dark Waters, and you share what happened in hopes that you will get the respect that you would give if someone else shared. All right, so I said years of work and research went into this upload. And that's true, because it took me years to compile the evidence that I'm going to share with you today. So when I talk about certain cases, you know, I will talk about how the government covers up cases and these just very strange things that have occurred. And I'll mention names. Like the other day, I mentioned Christopher Whitley in Lipin, Texas. And someone emailed me, hey, can you point me to where you talked about that case? And I'm like, which video? Because I have about 6 videos that I talked about just that case alone a couple years ago. Tony Aaron's Amber Miller. We all, if you've been with the channel long enough, you know that I deep dove on that one. But you know, there's a few cases that really point to the lies, or really point to a mysterious thing that happened. And I'm going to start off with the first one, because this one was the first experience that I looked into that happened well before I even had my channel. I'd heard about this experience, or this case, excuse me, about 2 years after I started my channel. And I started to look into it, and I was like, whoa, there is something really, really strange with this one. The unsolved and very mysterious disappearance of Christopher Tompkins. This information is obtained through online data and the Where Are They podcast. The case of Christopher Tompkins takes some strange turns. Many believe there is a supernatural element to this, or an otherworldly component. So the missing person case gets quite interesting, but as a logical person by nature, we have questions. January 25th, 2002, Christopher Tompkins, 20-year-old man living with his mom. He was working at a local surveying company. His mother knew the owner of this surveying company as she babysat his children. Christopher arrived at work at 8 a.m., left his car at the office, and rode with a coworker to their job site that day in Ellerslie, Georgia. They were working on the County Line Road in Ellerslie, part of Harris County, Georgia. The 4 men were working in a line formation, with Christopher being at the end of the line. Each surveyor was about 50 feet away from the next in line. The men took a lunch break and then got back to work. One of the co-workers was having a conversation with Christopher. At one point, he looked away from Christopher to complete a task, and about a minute later said something else, and when he got no response, lifting up his head to look in the direction of where Chris was, he didn't see him. Initially thought he may have stepped into the trees to use the bathroom. He called him a few more times with no response. He let the other workers know, and they together walked down to where Christopher had been working. With still no answer, they discovered Christopher's work boot, hanging from the top of a barbed wire fence. and his work tools on the ground, but no Christopher. After not being able to find him, they called 911 to report him missing. The police advised that they couldn't investigate until after a 24-hour time period had passed. Christopher's mother was notified that Christopher was missing at around 4:15 p.m. She questioned why it took so long for someone to let her know what was going on. The next day, after the required 24 hours had passed, the police conducted an area search near where his boot was found. They found a blue piece of fabric that matched the material of Christopher's pants. They also found 12 cents on the ground right underneath, as if it had fallen from one of his pockets. They would find nothing else. The co-workers were questioned, although the police publicly stated they believe Christopher just walked off. One co-worker, however, retained an attorney a week after, although no one was sure why. Christopher's mom believes that co-worker knows more than what they are saying. And she also believes Christopher is no longer alive and may have likely met end to foul play. 5 months after his disappearance, a local farmer walking his property finds a lone boot in the swampland at the edge of his property. This boot would later be identified as Christopher Tompkins, and it is determined it was less than 1 mile from where the spot he had disappeared from. So, here are some quick theories. Christopher walked off on his own. If that's the case, how did he disappear so rapidly, and why take his boots off? Christopher's co-workers did something to him, or know something and are covering it up. A wild animal. If this happened, wouldn't the co-workers have heard something? Now, some other theories. Bigfoot, Dogman. These woodland creatures are fast, quiet, and would be able to carry a grown man away quickly. But again, the workers heard nothing. A portal. Did Christopher fall into a time portal or another dimension? This theory is straight out of science fiction movie, but would explain the sudden disappearance. Alien and alien abduction would explain how he was flipped upside down, losing his boot on the fence, going upward, and having the change fall out of his pocket. Sorry. So what do you think happened to Christopher? If you have any information on this case, please call 706-628-4211. Now, I have quite a few little articles about the case. Many of the articles are all of the same kind of writing. Very similar wording, just very generic, almost like the case in Castillo County, Colorado, which we still are waiting for some information from. But I'll touch on that in a minute here. Now, this one is a little more informative, and this is the one we'll go off of, all right, to show you. And I'm making this upload in hopes of people will see it and say, yeah, you know, for all those people that are on the fence, is something happening? Is the government and media working together to cover it up? 100% on every single one of those. I put that piece together back 4 years ago. This is where I got the majority of my information from. Missing persons in abduction cases are quite perplexing. They often confound authorities, terrorize families, and mystify sleuths. In Georgia, one of the strangest missing persons case is that of Christopher Tompkins. Chris disappeared from Ellerslie, Georgia, a small community in Harris County, not far from Columbus on Highway 27. Tompkins, who had gotten a job with a surveying company owned by a friend of his mother, Ann, was working on Highway 85 with four-man crew Friday, January 25th, 2002. The site on Highway 85 where his crew was working was a wooded area. He had left home that morning at 8:10 a.m., rode to the site with the owner of the surveying business. The morning went along without incident. The four men broke for lunch. After lunch at around 1:30 p.m., the workers were walking along the highway 85 near County Line Road and Warm Springs Road. The men were about 50 feet apart. Christopher was in the rear of this group close to the road, according to the men who were on the crew with Chris. This was the last time they saw him and his last known location. The next thing they knew, he was gone. According to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, Christopher was wearing a pair of navy blue pants and a plaid jacket with a hood and a black skull cap. On his right arm, there appears to be a tattoo of an ice cream cone with his name written vertically inside of the cone. The top of the cone, where the ice cream scoop would normally be, is not an ice cream scoop, but rather the head of a joker wearing a hat. The spot where Chris was last seen is wooded, and there is a barbed wire fence between the road and private property bordering the road itself. Christopher's co-workers returned to the area to search, and they found one of his boots he had been wearing when he disappeared. It was lying next to the fence that bordered the road and the private property nearby. So here's something that is interesting, because in different articles it says the boot was hanging from the barbed wire fence. This one says it wasn't. This one says it was lying next to the barbed wire fence. And, strangely enough, there were coins lying near the boot. Also scattered about on the grass nearby were the tools that Christopher had been using when he was last seen. The man who owned the business called Christopher's mom not long after, at around 4:15 p.m. They reported Chris' disappearance to the local sheriff's office. However, as is customary, local authorities do not classify a person as missing until he or she has been gone for 24 hours. Once this time had passed, the local sheriff's department start conducting the official investigation, where they found a part of a cloth of Christopher's blue pants on the barbed wire fence near the area where his coworkers found his boot. In July, 5 months after he disappeared, someone said to be the owner of the property on the other side of that fence found the other boot he was wearing when he disappeared. Interestingly enough, the owner of the surveying company for whom Chris worked mentioned that he had been acting odd the days leading up to the disappearance. On the other hand, Chris's mom says she has no recollection of him acting any differently or strange. In fact, he was acting quite normal. So, baffling elements of this is, why was Chris's boots removed? If Chris had been determined to run away and disappear, why did he remove his shoes one at a time? His car wasn't there. Obviously, he had no vehicle. Why were the coins and tools lying about? Why would he empty his pockets? You know, that's kind of weird. One would think he would keep whatever money he had, you know, whether it be 12 cents or $12, you know. Now, this is something that I wanted to touch on a little bit, and I apologize. My fingers are really dry and the paper is sticking together. So, they did interview all of the people involved, and they did rule out foul play. Not only was it sheriff, it was state and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. They didn't half-ass the investigation. This is a really strange case. I think my own belief was, I remember when I started the channel, I was like, Dogman. Dogman was in a tree, scooped him up, and that's how he lost his boot, and his change fell out, and the blue got ripped off. You know, the blue fabric got ripped off and was caught on that barbed wire fence. Interesting and theoretically possible. Any cryptid could have done it. It would have been less likely a Bigfoot crawler, because we've all, throughout the years of researching, crawlers move very quickly, as do some dogmen, but crawlers will use trees as a rapid form of locomotion when hunting. And I've heard that in many, many areas, you know, especially Gila, when J.R., Robert's son, was in Gila and running for his life, and he could hear these crawlers that he had just witnessed kill a dogman chasing him through the trails. Multiple other little cases, but just a really strange one. Never been solved. We just hit the 23rd year. 23 years. And there were dogs out. They did a search with dogs in the area. Everything that could have been done was done. I now think quite possibly that he did walk into a portal. And who knows how portals work. I don't. We have theories, you know. But why was his shoe found less than a mile away, but still pretty far off? And it wouldn't make sense if it was a coworker, because why would they throw the boot going into someone's private property, someone's yard, essentially, knowing that they could be seen, and throw a boot in the pond? Makes no sense. So I do not believe, just like Georgia Bureau of Investigation, I don't believe that the coworkers were responsible. But this is one to make you really think of just how crazy shit is out there. 23 years and still no answers for Mrs. Tompkins. And as much as I've read about the case and Christopher, he wasn't involved in any kind of craziness, any kind of drugs, any kind of just, you know, he was pretty much a decent kid. And, you know, 20 years old as a kid. He's had a whole life ahead of him that mysteriously, that life disappeared without a clue. Without a clue. That brings me to, real quick, my next case that I want to talk to you about. Right, so the next case that this reminds me of is one that, here's the file that I have on this case. This one is especially important to me because it happened in where I live. It happened in the Adirondacks. I live in the Adirondacks. And this case happened 35 to 40 minutes from my house, just north of me. I've been there multiple times. Tom Mzik. What's similar to this case and the Tompkins case is that not only were there people with him, but they were also nearby. Tom was sitting as other members of this hunting party were coming in, pushing the deer to them. He was sitting about 100 yards from the next guy and from the next guy. And, at 10 o'clock in the morning, they start this drive. 4:30, the hunt's supposed to be over. 4:30 comes around and no Tom. All of a sudden, the Adirondack Park is filled with correctional officers, multiple search and rescue people, all looking for Tom Mzik. And I'm not going to dive deep into this case because I know you've all heard me talk about it about 1,000 times. But the thing that sticks out about this case with the Tompkins case is the simple fact that there were people there, multiple people. That Tom is sitting stationary, Christopher's walking, but there's people in front of him. Tom had people aside of him. It's just what happened to Tom. And I'll tell you, when I first started researching Tom's case, my head went, Dogman. Because why? Because that's what I wanted to think. Then I started to explore all of the avenues. I was like, Dogman, maybe. Crawler? Caves. Maybe he fell. No, that's because they would have found him. They would have found some article of him. They know. Thing different between Tompkins' case and Mzik case is they found clues from Tompkins. They found his boots. They found change. They found a piece of fabric. With Tom Mzik, they found nothing. Nothing. Not a hat, not a rifle, not a walkie, nothing. And he had all that. He had a rifle. He had a walkie-talkie. So, here's something very comforting. When I do go up to where Tom Mzik disappeared, I do go armed. I don't talk about it often because, one, I don't need to, it's not something, hey, look what I'm carrying today. Grr. I have it for my protection, my safety. He had something for his protection and his safety, also to take out a deer. But in something really crazy still happened to him. What if? And I'm just saying, what if? Like the day I'm sitting on that set of rocks and I'm narrating and talking about a experience, and I'll never forget the encounter. I'm talking about an encounter in Yakima, Washington, and the fucking woods just erupt behind me, and I take off running, and whatever I caught a glimpse of it, and whatever it was going up into the mountains. Ironically enough, on the opposite side of that mountainside is the trail that I blazed myself. I just randomly went up into the woods where the trees are all at an angle. All of them are tilted. And there's 3 boulders stacked on each other. Not boulders, but rocks that are randomly stacked on each other. And 3, I know someone said, hey, stacking rocks is a sign of Bigfoot. And I'm like, yeah, it is. But 3 is the Trinity. When you blow your shofar, per Tim Baker, you're supposed to blow it 3 times. I don't know. But that's another case. FBI came. Nothing. We have heard nothing still to this day. November 15th, 2015. And just a strange case. On to the next one. All right, the next case I'm going to talk about, I don't talk about it enough. I mention it periodically here and there. In 2020 to 2022, there were, if you were with the channel, you will remember that time period. There were multiple, actually 2019 to 2022, there were multiple strange attacks and strange deaths. Animal attacks with government and media cover-ups. This one case I probably should talk about more. And to be honest with you, I don't know why I don't, because out of the 20-something files I have put together, this one it starts out with a lie or with a mis kind of calculation or misreading on the police. So, Newalla woman dead after being attacked by multiple dogs. 61-year-old woman died after being attacked by multiple dogs, Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office announced Tuesday. Deputies responded to the 4300 block in South Catfish Drive just after noon on Sunday after getting a report of a woman dead. Upon arrival, deputies found Anita Myers dead in her front yard with apparent stab wounds. The Oklahoma Coroner's Office later determined her death was not a homicide, but rather she was a victim of an attack by multiple dogs. Sheriff's Office said Myers' dog was also injured in the attack. The dog was standing over her body when deputies arrived. Deputies believe her dog was trying to protect her. As far as the dogs that attacked Myers, we don't know whether they were wild dogs or neighborhood dogs. And because there are no witnesses, we may never know, the Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office said in a news release. We are warning folks to stay away from any packs of dogs that may be roaming the area. If you see any packs of dogs in the Newalla area, please call 911. Sheriff's Office expresses their condolences to the family. Our prayers are with Miss Myers' family, and we hope they can work and cope with this tragedy. This is where the cover-up starts to happen. Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office says suspicious death of a 61-year-old woman Sunday has been ruled a dog attack. Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office Tommy Johnson III said Tuesday the investigation is no longer considered a homicide. Instead, it is now being ruled a dog attack. Johnson said originally thought it may have been a stabbing, but now it turns out the woman was mauled by multiple dogs in her front yard. Very tragic, Johnson said. I'll tell you, it's a sad way to die, to pass away, and our heart goes out to the family. The victim was identified as 61-year-old Anita Myers. The attack happened near Southeast 44th Street and Catfish Drive in Newalla. Mrs. Myers' dog was also injured in the attack, and we believe the dog was trying to protect her. The sheriff's office originally called the death suspicious and believed Myers' injuries were consistent with several stab wounds. A person of interest was brought in at first, but quickly released. This isn't the suspect, this person of interest. This is a person of interest, Johnson said. So the person of interest can mean a multitude of things. And it can mean someone who's nearby who could have possibly seen something. So we can contact these people and get a better story. However, Oklahoma County's coroner's office told them that she wasn't stabbed. She was bitten. KFRO spoke with a nearby neighbor off camera who lived in the area near Myers' home. For over 40 years, Myers lived in that home. The neighbor said she knew her well. She was a great neighbor. However, the neighbor said they had seen coyotes go near the pond on the property in the past, but they haven't seen them recently. Johnson said, right now there are no witnesses to exactly what happened, so details on this are unclear. The dogs could still also be roaming free. If you see packs of dogs, stay away from them and call the police. Obviously, they travel in packs, so they are dangerous. So please, stay away, protect yourself, and call the police. Johnson said they have not located the dogs. It's obviously not uncommon to see dogs roaming in rural areas of Oklahoma and beyond, Johnson added. And they normally work with the municipality of animal control agencies in situations like these. And then they talk about the next one is we don't know what kind of dogs it is, what this and that. So when this kind of cluster bomb of strangeness happened, I immediately looked up what her yard looks like, and her yard is butts up to this huge field. Like, she does have a beautiful yard, or did have a beautiful yard. And it was fenced in, kind of. About an acre, maybe 2. There was a pond in it. And her house was kind of situated, right in the middle front part of the property. Just a really nice piece of property. But beyond that was all fields and all wild kind of Mother Nature, for lack of better. And I got to thinking about this, and I'm like, no one saw anything? No one heard anything? We're talking Sunday in the afternoon in April. Winter's just ending. Spring has sprung. No one saw anything or heard anything. Really strange. But yet, you actually come upon this woman, think that it is stab wounds, but then you find out that they're bite marks. Well, what else do dog men have besides their teeth? Claws, right? I myself believe that this was a dogman attack, 100%. And I'll tell you exactly why. Stab wounds, claw marks. Coyote. Dogmen are known to run with coyote. I think what happened was that there was a dogman or multiple coming through her yard or in her yard at the time, possibly looking for something, maybe hunting her dog. Who knows? We don't know. But it came into her yard, attacked her very viciously, and left her for dead and took off. There were no packs of wild dogs spotted in this area for years. There still hasn't been. To this day, there's never been. There's not been any other attacks like this in that area to this day. So, I mean, we're coming up onto 3 years on this case, and there's nothing. But the thing of it is what got me was, how do you mistake bite marks for stab wounds? You don't, unless they were claw marks or stab wounds by claws. Just a thought on top of everything else that, I just shared with you, that the coyotes dogmen have been known to run with coyotes, and that there hasn't been any other experiences or sightings of these. And then they immediately have a scapegoat. Immediately. They have a person of interest, and they try to pawn that person of interest. Oh, well, it was a person of interest, but because it's a person of interest, it doesn't mean that he did it, right? He just may have answers or information for us. That's not what a person of interest is. A person of interest is a person of interest that you think did the case, or did the crime. You witness a gas station robbery. They know you didn't do it, but you witnessed it. You're not a person of interest. That's not what a person of interest is. And you can't say it's a play on words either, So there's another experience that I think really deserved a lot more looking into on the police department. A April 26th, spring. Right now, it's going to be 60 degrees tomorrow. Spring has sprung in upstate New York. You know what I mean? Like, it's the next couple of weeks, we have 40 to 50 degree weather, 60. When winter is over and you have beautiful weather, even if there's still snow on the ground, you're outside. You're telling me that nobody heard. And it wasn't a big neighborhood. She didn't live in a huge neighborhood, but she had neighbors all around her. She did have a chunk of property, though, with a large chunk of open land for one of these creatures to come through. But you don't mistake bite wounds, especially dog bite wounds, for fucking stab marks. Or stab wounds, excuse me. Next case. So the next case I talk a lot about is, when I'm talking about cases like this, I say, or Christopher Whitley. Or there's the woman that was mauled on Thanksgiving in Texas. What the government and media love to do is they like to victimize the victim. They love to do that, especially if they have no answers for us. They will turn the victim into a villain. And they did it with Christopher Whitley. They did it with Amber Miller. They did it with Tony Aarons. And they continue to do it. Very subtly, though. Not so much with this case, though. And this one is definitely, because in this case, you have two government agencies, local or state government agencies, state and county, stating that, oh, a mountain lion killed him. No, a mountain lion didn't kill him. And they go to war on this. And then what's the media do? Christopher was in prison and he was a drug addict. What's that have to do with the price of tea in China? Nothing. August 25th, 2021. Christopher Allen Whitley never learned to drive. At 28, he spent much of his adult life in prison, serving time for aggravated assault and struggling with an addiction to methamphetamine. That's why, the morning of December 2nd, 2020, he was planning to hitchhike to work at around 9 in the morning. He grabbed his blue and white backpack and walked out the door of his girlfriend's house in Lipen, an unincorporated town of about 500 in the rural Hood County, about an hour's drive southwest of Fort Worth. According to Hood County Sheriff's Office, that morning, he took a shortcut through some dense brush to get to Hollow Road, a narrow country lane where he planned to thumb a ride to his job painting houses. But Whitley never made it to work that day. The next day, a friend of Christopher filed a missing persons report, and that evening, as the sun was setting, Hood County Sheriff's deputies searched those woods between his girlfriend's house and Howell Road. First, they spotted his backpack beneath a cedar tree. Then, about 15 feet away, they spotted Whitley's body in the brush so dense that it was a miracle that our deputies found him, said Lieutenant Johnny Rose, one of the on-scene investigators and spokesperson for the sheriff's office. Soon, Hood County Justice of the Peace, Catherine Gwynn, arrived at the scene to determine the cause of death. She had seen victims killed by guns, knives, and car crash, but nothing like this. Whitley's throat from under one ear to the other was torn open. Small scratches marked his torso, forehead, and one side of his face. He was shirtless, even though the weather had been cold. We had no idea what exactly happened. After going over the scene, we couldn't make those calls. Most of the counties, Hood County doesn't have a medical examiner, so Gwen called the ME's office in nearby Tarrant County for help. The article in January, that was just one experts not buying the theory, which we'll get back to now after this one. Hood County Sheriff's Office said they have closed the death investigation of Lipen man who was attacked by an animal early December. At the time, the office said Christopher Allen Whitley, 28 years old, died on December 3rd of a mountain lion attack. While Parks and Wildlife, Texas Parks and Wildlife, dispute that it was a mountain lion, Tarrant County Medical Examiner ruled the case a death of accident due to injuries of the neck due to an animal attack. Sheriff's Office said they support the ruling. There are no signs of foul play. They're closing the case. There is still a disagreement with the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department whether Whitley was killed by a mountain lion or not. Texas Park and Wildlife said December, there's no evidence. None of the evidence reviewed by the Texas Park and Wildlife indicates the attack was done by a mountain lion or any other wild animal. December 3rd, deputies were called to the 1500 block Howell Road after Whitley was reported missing and found his body nearby. Sheriff's office then contacted a governmental trapper with the USDA along with Texas game wardens to help locate the mountain lion. There is no evidence of a predatory attack by a mountain lion at the location where the victim was found. United States Department of Agriculture Wildlife Service trapper also evaluated the evidence and came up with the same conclusion. Later, the department clarified that none of the evidence indicated an animal attack by an animal at all. So you've got the sheriff's office going along with and this county is so small, they don't have their own medical examiner. So they use Tarrant County medical examiner quite often, obviously. So they're probably going to go with their assessment either way you look at it, right? Either way, because why? Well, if we don't, we're not going to have another medical examiner's office to use. But then you have two large government agencies that are debating that case with them. How do you win? How do you come to a conclusion that it was or wasn't whatever it was? I can tell you one thing though, that Whitley had a mark the size of a nickel in his sternum. Something poked through his chest, ripped his throat open, and clawed his body savagely. What's that sound like? And once again, they villainize the victim. So then, as these cases, or this case goes on, they talk about why and how he was killed and certain things. A federal wildlife expert came in. His obvious case of death was a jagged tear to the right side of his neck that exposed vital tissue and opened his jugular. A wild predator must have killed him. Deputies and medical examiners assumed within hours of finding the body that it may have been a mountain lion. Before wildlife experts could evaluate the evidence, the Hood County Sheriff's Office issued a warning stating to look out for a killer feline. He brought a mountain lion skull. This expert brought a mountain lion skull to prove that it wasn't a mountain lion, like literally proved that it could not have been a mountain lion. But then what happened after that? After he proved all of that, well, the media and local Hood County buckled down hard on him and said, perhaps the concern is that if it was a homicide, it may have been mishandled. I'm really concerned about the possibility that it was a murder. Whitley was a chronic methamphetamine user. He had a long and violent criminal record. He was found dead in Lipton, Texas. His autopsy conducted shows he was probably high when he died. Once again, what does that have to anything to do with it? And they just destroy him. Hood County has a reputation of the good old boy network. There's an urgency to clear those as quickly as they can rather than do a thorough investigation. So they just, really something bigger than a dog. So we can rule out dogs and coyote. They've already ruled out mountain lion. They've also never been seen in Hood County, and I believe the nearest one was something like 300 miles away. And then they talk about Christopher's. This is terrible what they do to his family. They interview his mom, and he says, Christopher and I were tight. He loved to make me turn red. He loved to embarrass me because me and him, like I said, we joked a lot. She talked about him being kind of like her clown, you know. Her son was like a class clown. But then they say, oh, what's the point of bringing this up? Nothing. Right here, court records. Whitley's teenage years were marked with criminal behavior and drug use. He was accused of doing some pretty shitty stuff. He may have had ties with the Aryan Nation, which his girlfriend denied. And they didn't. They proved that not to have been true. He had gotten clean in prison. You know, they made it real bad. And then he was lying on his left side under a twiggy tanglewood brush. He was shirtless, with tears and scratches on his face, chest, back, and arms. His jeans, bloody from the knees up, were torn. She immediately knew Whitley's death was something rather frightening and something she had never seen before. I could see large gnash-like area, which could only be from an animal chewing at his neck. Something had pulled him and dragged him. Bodachuk and Evans say this is not how mountain lions kill or attack. They sneak up, make one bite on the trachea to kill their prey. A cougar would remove and discard the stomach and digestive tract before dragging the body to a secluded spot. So, you know, they really just tore this poor kid apart. I'm trying to... And then here's what... This is the greatest... Another part of the cover up here is after Tarrant County did the initial autopsy, well, a case like this, when there's multiple agencies involved, you don't do what these guys did. And this right here, immediately, everything right there I just shared with you points to a cover-up. But then this. He did have methamphetamine, amphetamine, and THC in his system, but that doesn't have anything to do with it. He was attacked savagely. Also, and I'm not saying like he was a good person either, you know, but you don't bring that up. You don't villainize a victim. You just don't, you know, like he was savagely killed by something. Deputy medical examiner, preliminary findings, consistent with a large cat. That's the Tarrant County. But then after all of this, you've got the federal agricultural, and then you've got a agency that specializes in these attacks, the Texas Game and Wildlife, that say, no, it was not, you know. But then Tarrant County does the worst thing. They wash their bodies in a soap and water solution. But then washing him in bleach. They washed his body in bleach is not, according to medical examiners, a normal thing to do. But they did it. And then they blamed it on the COVID. Why would you, you know, like, that makes no sense. I'm looking for that one piece of, but none from cougars, none from, like, they really, the media and the Hood County really, didn't do a great job on their end. What about the claw marks? There was just huge claw marks on him. So, right here is one of the worst cases of a cover-up ever. And, I can't even read all of this because it would take, I'm skimming off of everything on here for you guys because that's the case file. That's literally everything that I've collected on this case. Pretty much every article that in the last 100 years, there's only been 30 mountain lion killings in the whole United States, according to Texas Park and Wildlife, none of which are in Texas. There may have been a couple non-deadly attacks in the western part of the state. Sightings of bobcat and large cats have been ongoing. Hood County Sheriff's Office Roger Deeds said Saturday night, but this has never happened where a person was attacked. It just... How do you make such a mess of something, such a mess of a case? Villainize the victim, create a narrative. Tarrant County and Hood County created a narrative stating that it was a mountain lion before even experts could get involved and look. And then to have a wildlife biologist and forensic biologist at that, wildlife forensic biologist at that, come in and look, and they bring a freaking mountain lion skull and put it on and show you, hey, this is not happening. But yet, the media in Hood County did their job because the majority of people in that area forgot about this case. Sad. Then, I've talked about Dr. Nancy Shaw, Georgia medical doctor, found on the side of the road, her car running. She's parked on one side of the road. Her door is open. Car is running. She's found on the opposite end of the road, torn apart, savagely torn apart. And the media and town, they were on Skyline Lane or Skyline Road. But they do get a scapegoat, just like what happened with Tony Aarons and Amber Miller. The scapegoat was Charles Owensby. No charges were filed. There were charges filed, but then dropped. Nothing more about that case. Brenda Hamilton. The whole Beaumont, North Carolina, it still didn't get answers. And they played it so good. They played how they did it. They were like, we want answers. They formed a civilian committee and said, if we ask the FBI agents on, why are there FBI agents? That's another thing with, Tom Mzik. Where did the FBI agents come from? He's not a tender-aged youth, and there was not freaking state lines crossed. But for Brenda Hamilton, they're like, give us our answers. If we ask these people, we want to know. We want to see what's going on. Show us. We have that right. And they do. They do have that right. And that was the one town that Brenda Hamilton lived in. That's Brenda's file right there. Buford County. Beaufort County. Pentago. 135 miles east of Raleigh. County up in arms, but they did it right. They asked the questions and they didn't stand for the bullshit answers. They're still fighting it. To this day, they are still demanding answers from their government. They're not letting it die, and nor should they. Nor should they. This next one is just this one's pure idiocy on the media and the local government. And I'm often curious when I look at these cases, how many of the local people fall for it? You know, like, do they ever put them? What I do is I put myself in the position of these people. You know, like Christopher Whitley. That's a scary position to put yourself in. But, you know, with this, what they blame this woman's death on, it makes obviously no sense once you hear it. Christine Rollins, 59 years old, attacked outside a home in Anaheim in one of the worst cases I've ever seen, says county sheriff. 59-year-old Texas woman has died after being assaulted by feral hog in what the county sheriff describes as one of the worst cases he has ever seen. Christine Marie Rollins, 59, a healthcare worker, arrived to look after an 84-year-old patient who she had been caring for almost 2 years when she was attacked in the early hours of Sunday morning. Sheriff Brian Hawthorne said he would not go into details of the incident, but said he was disturbed by the attack. This is unbelievably tragic and very rare. In my 35 years, I will tell you it's one of the worst things I have ever seen. Hawthorne said that the bites, bruises, and varying sizes made it clear that multiple animals were involved in the attack. He said pigs had taken over some of the pastures and woods in this land. In August, the self-proclaimed libertarian William McNabb became a viral sensation when he waded into debate on gun reform by posing the question, how do you kill 30 to 50 feral hog when they run into my yard? According to U.S. agriculture, there are 5 million feral hogs in Texas. They cost billions of dollars each year. Now, I think what happened was they used this case because there was a feral hog problem. There still is. But I think what they did is they used this case to pass laws to make it okay to hunt these hogs even at night. But you know, how does a woman who is a home health nurse, she's not an aide, she's a frickin' nurse, so she's intelligent. You get out of your car, here. All right. The horrific death struck some people as strange. It struck me as strange. One day after 59-year-old caregiver Christine Rollins was found dead in the yard with portions of her legs gnawed away. We had suspected that was feral hog. We had suspected such. An attack was practically unheard of and drew national attention. Exceedingly rare. It is so rare that it doesn't happen. That's the thing. So as people continue to talk, so what happened was she pulls up into these people's yard. She gets out of her car and she starts to walk to this car, or walk to the home, right? She locks her door and proceeds to walk. Now, on that walk to this home, a modular home or mobile home, whatever, you're telling me that from point A to B, an intelligent woman can be attacked by feral hog. So here, put yourself in this position. You are an intelligent woman. And I really think they did. And it was kind of weird because they and I don't like using this as any kind of media or whatnot. I think the media used a race card on this one, and I hate saying that because it's disgusting that they did. But every time they talked about her, they put a picture of her, and she was a black woman. But they made every picture they used was not a picture that, you should use for in memory of this woman who was a nurse. Like it was just like some random, picture with friends. Maybe she had gone out with a couple friends and she looked intoxicated, or, it was just a really shitty job of what they did. But here, you're a nurse. You get out of the car. You're 30 feet away from the front door of this house, right? Even if you did lock the damn door, you're walking. You feral hog aren't quiet. Especially a herd of 30 to 50 feral hog coming at you is not a quiet thing. They're fast, but they're not that fast. This 59-year-old woman could have easily made it to the porch, or back to her car, unlocked it, or jumped on the hood and got onto the top of onto the roof. It's so rare and so unheard of that, and none of the factors add up, if you know what I mean. None of it adds up. Like, and then they tried to blame the 84-year-old people that she was going to help with. It was her dog that did it at one point. They blamed her their lab. The husband found her in the yard. His son had called the authorities. She's 131 pounds, 5'1". The hood of the car was still warm. She was found on her back, as if she had been dragged feet first. Calves looked eaten. It just noted that this does not imply the dogs did it, because he's trying to document all the things. Ha! And then this right here. I love this because Rollins' daughter, who was planning a Christmas party, this is so sad. I feel so bad for this family. God bless them. Rollins' daughter, who was planning a Christmas pajama party for her mother's 60th, is now planning a funeral. Blaming the hogs, nothing adds up. Good job. Good job, media and local Texas government. All right, this is the last one that really, I don't know, struck me as odd. And once again, all of these cases, except Tompkins and mzik, are all within 2020 or 2019. Brenda Hamilton, Corey Godsey. And I'm not mentioning those cases. I'm not going into depth on those cases because I already have. And because multiple people already know about those cases. Those cases have been spoken about. I covered Corey Godsey the day it happened. When I read it, I was like, holy shit, this kid got dragged up a 1,300-foot cliff, at 13 years old, or 400-foot cliff, at 13 years old. When I was 13 years old, a dog was not, I don't care what kind of dog it was. And I was only about 126 pounds, 119 pounds. Actually, I wrestled at my high school career was 119, 126. I wasn't getting dragged up, a mountainside by, I don't care what kind of dog it was. We had farm dogs growing up. We had blue ticks that, I watched one of my cousin's blue ticks put down a pit bull with no problem. So, that poor boy, but I'm not going to talk about those cases because one, I've talked about them. I've had Corey Godsey's, a guy that went to school with Corey's mom, and she was only interviewed once on TV. Brenda Hamilton, but this is the last one. And this one really, really just was tragic, because the age of the person that it happened to, and then how the media and everyone pieced it together was just so terrible. It just absolutely terrible. A child was apparently attacked and killed by a family pet south of Kiefer Wednesday. The Creek County Sheriff's Office reports. This is in Oklahoma. This was October 21st, 2021. The child, whose name and age has not been released, was reported missing at 7:20. Listen to every word of this case and visualize it. The child, whose name and age has not been released, was reported and missing 7:20 p.m. Wednesday, Chief Deputy Chris Lynch wrote in a news release. Deputies arrived at the scene south of Kiefer in a response call. Shortly after the family member found the child on the property, he or she was pronounced dead at 7:35. Leach said deputies believe a dog attacked the child and are working with the Oklahoma office and chief medical examiner to confirm their preliminary investigation. The dog is now held at the animal control facility. I'm only laughing because nothing about this is funny. Leach did not say how old the dog is or what the breed may be. Now we find out how old the boy is. And it's a boy. A 7-year-old boy was attacked Wednesday, Creek County, 7:20. Authorities received a report of a missing boy in Kiefer. News release from the sheriff's office, a family member found the body on the property shortly after deputies arrived. The boy was pronounced dead at 7:35. A preliminary investigation indicates the family dog attacked the child, according to the news release. The family said the boy, identified as James McNeilus, was playing outside with the new pet when the incident occurred. Creek County Sheriff Brett Boeing said no foul play is suspected. The dog is being held at the animal control facility. Creek County Sheriff's Office is working with the medical examiner in this investigation. Authorities did not release the information on the dog's breed. So you got an update, but you still don't know what the breed is, right? Now, you heard about how sheriff deputies were contacted, then the body was found. Neighbors are reacting after learning a child was attacked and killed by a family dog near Kiefer. Shannon Edson and her family were outside celebrating her mother's 70th birthday. As they are getting ready, she says she heard a terrifying scream. As a mom, you know that scream. If you've heard that scream, you know that scream. Something is catastrophically wrong. Creek County Sheriff's Office got the call at 7:20 about a missing child. Wednesday, his body was found near the property hours later. Edson says she learned something like this happened in a quiet place in the country. It's gut-wrenching. We live here for a long time and things like this don't happen. And to know that it happened is scary. It's scary for all of us. Of course, condolences to the family. Dog is being held at animal control. Once again, breed is not released. Pretty much same report, same stuff said, very little information, same day, same pretty much time, different agency. Except this says nothing about the dog's name or dog's breed yet, except it just says they've only had the dog for 2 to 3 weeks. The dog has never shown any aggression. All right. This is the part where picture exactly what I'm telling you. A boy was found dead Wednesday night after an apparent attack by a pet dog, according to Creek County Sheriff's Office. Deputies said the boy was playing outside, then wandered off after searching. His body was found in the backyard. The property owner, who isn't related to the family, told News 6 the boy was 7 years old. Sheriff's Office said the parents called the deputies at 7 p.m. Wednesday to report the body missing, or the boy was missing. They say deputies put together a search team and 15 minutes later found the child dead. About a half an hour later, near this street in Creek County, West 171st Street on Highway 75th, near Kiefer. We just started seeing flashing lights. Kiefer Police, Highway Patrol, and another vehicle had their flashers driving down and up and down the road. Shannon Edson states. Edson said her family were celebrating a birthday party when they heard all the commotion. We knew something was wrong. As a mom, you know that scream. If anybody has ever heard that scream, you know that scream. Something was catastrophically wrong. Deputies have the animal control, and they haven't figured out what happened. It's gut-wrenching. So then it's all basically the same. But here's what I want you to think about. And then the last update is where we learn what the dog's breed was. So the boy's out back playing with his dog. How big is this property that you got to put a search team together? Pretty big, right? That's what I'd say. It is. So they have this boy's playing with his dog. Maybe he was. The dad had already looped around this whole yard looking for his son. Doesn't find him, right? That's when they call the police. They can't find him, so they immediately call the police. Now, that's something any parent would do. But you're going to check the obvious spots, right? Your backyard, your side yard, maybe the field behind that yard, this, that. And then you're going to call the police. That's what he did as a parent. That's what he did. Any parent would. The dog is present. In a newscast, that is stated. Deputies are called, sheriffs or search teams put together, a very small search team, 5 people, 6 people, but still a search team. They search the area. They find the body in the backyard. The dad's already searched there. He's already searched there. They find the body. They find him dead. A new dog in the family attacks and kills a 7-year-old boy, according to Oklahoma police officer. Gut-wrenching. According to Oklahoma officials, a 7-year-old boy was killed on Wednesday when his family's new pet dog attacked him. Creek County legislator dispatched Wednesday at 7:20 for reporting a missing child. 15 minutes later, he was found shortly after lawmakers arrived at the scene. The boy was identified as James McNeilus by KOCO, playing outside with his dog when he was attacked. The family told KJRH the dog is a mixed Sheltie Corgi. They'd only had it for 3 weeks. We heard the scream. Something was wrong. It was catastrophically wrong. He was 7. 7 years old. You know how big a Sheltie Corgi is? 15 to 25 pounds. 12 inches. 12 inches. I looked this up when I initially covered it, and I remember how 12 to 16 inches tall. So it's this big. A 7-year-old boy. A 7-year-old boy. I have cousins that have kids that are 7. I don't see that happening. I don't see it possibly even being remotely possible. I find it completely unbelievable, and I think something else did happen. I think he was attacked by some other kind of creature. He obviously was attacked by an animal. But a corgi? And I'm not laughing. There's nothing funny about it. It's the fact that the media would say, and I just don't see a corgi attacking a 7-year-old boy. Maybe a 3-year-old boy. I could buy it if he was 3. And actually, when that update came out, I forgot how old the little boy was. And I read it and I was like, oh shit. I'm like, huh. And I didn't report on this until I had all that info, until I had that update on what the dog was. Because I was like, well, there's got to be a reason why they're not releasing the breed, right? There's got to be a reason. Maybe it was a pit bull. Maybe it was a German Shepherd. Maybe it was something, large enough to take out a 7-year-old boy. Strangely enough, the two things that the police kept from the media and the media kept from us was the boy's name, the boy's age, and the breed of the dog. They were all given to the public probably by mistake or by accident during an interview. Probably during a live broadcast, like the neighbor, Edison. I heard the scream and I knew it was that 7-year-old boy next door. The dad. Sheltie Corgi. We adopted it. Why, none of it makes sense. 12 to 16 inches in height, 15 to 25 pounds. How insane is that, right? You're telling me that there's nothing strange about that? Then here, I typed in, are Sheltie Corgi mix aggressive? They're known by Pembroke Shelties. That's their name, now that they've been bred together for years. Are known for not being aggressive, but like any dog or any animal, they can have, a bad day, like a human being, like any living creature. Tigers attacked me before. Tigger's bigger than a corgi. I don't see Tigger killing a 7-year-old boy. And I'm not laughing at the fact. I'm laughing at the fact that the fucking media is so ignorant that they think we're that ignorant. And the reason why they think we're that ignorant is because the majority of the populace just may be. They just may be. June and Ward Cleaver are sitting at the table and they hear about Christopher Whitley. Found, throat ripped open, torn apart, in Lipin, Texas, in the woods. We might not have found him. We found him. Geez, crow, Ward, that is unbelievably scary. What do you think did it? Well, they say it's not a mountain lion, but they say it's a mountain lion. Well, Oh, wait, hang on. Oh, he was a criminal. He had some really bad cases. He was pretty much a scumbag and a drug addict. Doesn't matter. He was a scumbag and a drug addict. And I'm only saying scumbag because Christopher Whitley was not, his crimes were not cool at all. But why villainize the victim? You don't. You don't. And that's my years of research, you know. Each pile, like I said, I laid my down so I could go through them and share them with you. There's the map of cases that I've looked into, but each pile is of cases that I looked into. We didn't talk about this one, the Letcher County, Kentucky, which is 20 minutes from where Corey Godsey was attacked. Almost same kind of attack. Torn apart, found in a gully. No answers whatsoever still. Costello County, Colorado. Just right over the border of New Mexico. Real close in connection to Dulce and Teos. Real close. Still nothing. That was, what, January? I got that file right here. That file hasn't even hit the filing cabinet yet. January 23rd. Yeah, an autopsy, they say autopsy takes 4 to 6 weeks. January 23rd, we're almost coming up on 2 months now. We're at that 6-week mark. Are we going to hear anything soon? I doubt it. I really do. Because we don't, even on these cases. If that's not proof enough for even the most skeptical person, then I don't know. My research is worthless. But to me, that's proof. That's evidence. And I'm going to continue to do it. That's what I love cryptozoology. I love paranormal research. And to me, the high strangeness, the no answers, the government involved cases, those are the scariest ones. But that's neither here nor there, is it? Anyway, I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that helps this channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences, just ridicule free, judgment free. And that is because of all of you guys, so thank you. And with that, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, the most precious gift we are gifted by God. Our pets, the greatest alarm system we could ever have. Our family and friends, the ones that mean the most to us. Share this information with those that you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. And until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.